Hello, dear students and esteemed colleagues. Thank you very much for appreciating my work and sending those positive feedback. Yes, these positive feedback are very important and it gives you some kind of extra energy and enthusiasm. Okay, so today we are going to talk about uh, something which is very sociological. We are going to talk about theoretical perspective, right? So the topic is functional perspective on sociology of health. Basically, we'll try to examine how functional perspective is examining the issues related to sociology of health. And yes, before I begin this lecture, I'm reminded of a suggestion given by a well-wisher. A well-wisher told me to keep the lectures light. So I'm following his suggestions, and yes, I'm keeping the lights on, right? So I hope keeping the lights on will help me in keeping the lecture also light. Okay. So basically, when I'm talking about light, I want to talk about seeing. Because when we talk about perspective, so we are actually talking about seeing, right? Because the dictionary meaning of the word perspective is to see in a specific way. So when we want to see something in a specific way, or when we see something, examine something in a specific way, then basically we make use of the term perspective. At a more academic level, we differentiate these term, the perspective from the term view. And we say that when we talk about an individual contributor, then we say that in his or in her views. But when we have several contributors who share some common understanding, or where there are some kind of common agreement, then those views collectively take a larger shape. They develop as a framework, and that framework is actually identified as a perspective. So there are different perspectives in sociology, and students of sociology are familiar with those things. We talk about functional perspective, we talk about Marxist perspective, we talk about uh, symbolic interactionist perspective. And then we also talk about perspective in a different, you can say at two different levels. One is the theoretical perspective and another is a methodological perspective. I'm talking about this because very often students at master's level remain confused that, okay, this is also perspective, that is also perspective. How can we differentiate those things? So very often students used to talk about these things. And so we need to understand that the perspectives do operate at theoretical level and perspectives operate at the methodological level. So when we talk about positivism, or you can talk about, or when you talk about interpretivism, right, phenomenological. So these things are actually perspective, but these are the methodological perspective. On the other hand, when we talk about functionalism or Marxism, etc., then these are actually the theoretical perspective. And let me make one point clear here, that functional perspective and Marxist perspective are generally considered opposite of each other, but at some level they do share certain things. And what is that level? Basically, when we see that at the methodological level, then we can say that functional perspective is, in terms of methodology, closer to the positivist perspective, and Marxist perspective is also closer to the positivist perspective, right? So basically perspective is a very powerful word, and it gives I mean a specific look, a specific makes you gives you a very specific view at a larger level, right? So with this background, or with this sort of understanding, we are going to address to the topic that we have decided to talk about, and that is the functional perspective contribution of the functionalist thinkers on issues related to health and illness, etc. So like our previous lectures, I prepared these slides here. The PPT presentation is there, and I'm going to share the screen, right? Yes, it's already open. Fine. I hope it will work. So this part is actually divided. This lecture is divided in 5 sections. What are those sections? What do we understand by functional perspective? Then what are the main arguments of functional perspective in the domain of sociology of health? Then who are the main contributors in the domain of functional perspective on sociology of health, and what are their main arguments? Then what are the main criticism of these arguments? And lastly, what is the overall contribution of the functional perspective in the issues related to understanding of health, illness, disease, and healthcare? So yes, as the topic today is functional perspective on sociology of health, and this is going to be the 5th lecture on sociology of health series, right? So now, as we stated, the first section of this lecture is related to understanding the functional perspective. We have understood perspective. Now we need to understand what is functional perspective, and for that we will talk about some of the assumptions and some of the common understanding related things. But before that, let me state that there are many popular perspectives, as we stated, and a perspective is actually a way of seeing. So in sociology, we have Marxist perspective, functional perspective, symbolic interactions perspective, post-structural perspective, postmodern perspective, and some of these perspectives are actually not remaining confined to the discipline of sociology. Rather, they have their presence in several disciplines. For example, this Marxist perspective, this is a dominant perspective not only in sociology, but also in economics, or say political science, or very often in literature kind of thing. So the perspectives have their presence beyond the discipline also, right? So post-structural perspective, for that matter, yes, this is one of the most contemporary perspective, and it is evolving and growing and encompassing several things. So we'll talk about these things, and then now let us come to the specific topic, that is the functional perspective. Now this perspective has developed because of the contribution made by many people, and some of those are actually Spencer, then Durkheim, then Malinowski, Radcliffe Brown, R.K. Merton, R.K. Parson, and then we should not assume that these are the only people who have made the contribution. There are certainly many other people who have made the contribution, but because this class is not on functional perspective as such, so I'm keeping this list very short. Now, this perspective actually started with an analogy between the society and a biological organism, right? So biological organism, we talk about something which is having some kind of life, right? A human being or an animal or even a plant kind of thing, which is having some kind of life, is a biological organism. So Spencer made some kind of analogy between society and a biological organism, and stated that just like a biological organism, which is having different components, different parts, and all those parts are actually integrated, interconnected, interrelated with each other. So just like that, the society is also having different parts, components, and all these components are interrelated and integrated with each other. We can also talk about one more thing within this analogy framework, that all those components actually work together, and when all these components are working together, then only the entity is sustaining or surviving. So just like that, even in society, all the components should work together so that it can sustain or survive. Just as the body consists of different but interrelated and interdependent parts, similarly, society consists of a number of different systems and subsystems which are interrelated. These different parts achieve a unity insofar as they function to sustain the whole, right? So these parts are having some kind of unity kind of thing, and this is some sort of interrelatedness interdependence among those various parts. And then, therefore, functionalism is less concerned with the individual actions and his or her aims, beliefs, and consciousness, rather with how these actions and beliefs, etc., function to maintain the system as a whole. So basically, I'm coming to the argument straightforward, and the argument is this: that that functionalism as such is not talking much about the survival of the individual components as such. Rather, it is much interested in talking about the survival of the larger unity, which is often considered as a system, or sometimes also considered as a structure. The survival of the structure or the system, because it believes that if the structure is surviving or the system is surviving, then the individual components are also surviving. And to apply this kind of thing in the context of the society, we can say when the society is surviving, the individuals are also surviving. So the functionalists basically see society as some kind of a pattern of various groups, and then role, status, and then structures kind of thing, processes, institutions, etc. And they think that all these things together basically help in maintenance of and ensuring the survival of the society. And when all these parts are making positive contribution, then the society is surviving. So this is the core argument of this functional perspective. Now we can see that the collective approach is there, and one more important thing is this, that there is a consensual approach, that the collectivity should be taken into consideration, and then some sort of consensus should be there, right? It is not talking about some kind of disagreement prevailing at a larger level. It considers that some sort of consensus is the most important thing, is a basic requirement for the survival of a society. So this is how we can understand a functional perspective. Now we come straight forward to how these functional how this functional perspective is looking at or making contribution in the understandings related to sociology of health. There are three very important names: Talcott Parsons, and then of course Malinowski and Durkheim. So Durkheim is a classical sociologist, as we all know, but the most important contribution is made by Talcott Parsons. We'll talk about that. Basically, in our previous lecture, we have also talked about this. And if you remember in the previous lecture, when we talked about emergence of sociology of health, then there we talked about medical sociology. And actually we stated that the term medical sociology became very popular in 1950s. And one of the most important factor was the contribution made by Talcott Parsons. Talcott Parsons in 1950s talked about a sick role, and then talked about the social system, gave examples from medical profession sort of thing. So Parsons is given the credit to popularize the term medical sociology in 1950s, and basically introducing sociological theories directly in the domain of health and illness. And the concept of sickness is actually very prestigious. We talked about this illness and sickness in another lecture. So if you have not watched those lectures, please do watch them. Those are very important. Actually, those the basic concepts are actually playing very important role in understanding the larger background and context of the growth of or images of these perspectives. So with relating these things with those things, I'm coming to the slide. Now, the heading of this slide is, what are the main arguments of functional perspective in the domain of sociology of health? So basically, when we have already understood functional perspective, now we want to say that what are the main arguments put forward by functional perspective. Now, what are those arguments? So the arguments are here. It contains that health and illness reflect the level of social normality rather than physical normality characterizing an individual. So the first point is the most important point, right, as stated by Parsons, that health and illness reflect the level of social normality rather than physical normality characterizing an individual. So basically, it is health and illness are social phenomenon, not individual, right? That's the first thing. And second, if the health is maintained, then the kind of normality which is coming into existence, this is a social normality and not a physical normality of the individual. That means if you want to keep the society in a normal condition, then health should be considered as the normal condition of the society, and that should be seen at the collective level, right? The second statement or the argument is also reflecting upon those things. Sickness is viewed as a form of deviant behavior that must be controlled by society. It's a major argument. Sickness is viewed as a form of deviant behavior that must be controlled by society. So deviant behavior is something which is undesirable, that needs to be corrected. This is what we know, that we understand. And sickness is considered as a deviant behavior, not something which is normal, not something which is good for the society, not something which is required for the maintenance of the society, right? So this is considered something which is abnormal, something which is deviant, and so that must be controlled. So sickness must be controlled by the society. Now, two things we are talking about. First, that sickness is an undesirable position, is an undesirable situation, is a deviant behavior. It must be controlled by the society. And second thing is this, that illness reflects the level of social normality rather than physical normality, right? I mean, illness and health, all those things. The point is not about normal as such, but the point is about the context, whether we are seeing that as a social phenomenon or an individual phenomenon, right? And then Parsons talked about sick roll. The sick roll is a shared set of cultural norms that legitimates deviant behavior caused by the illness and channels the individual into the healthcare system. So basically here we're talking about three things. So that's why I've highlighted these three things in three different colors. So we're talking about sick roll. Now, what is a sick roll? I've delivered one lecture on this illness and sickness. There I have explained the differences between illness and sickness and disease and medicine, all kind of things. So if you have not watched that, please do watch that, because there we have explained the things at a much descriptive level. So here we cannot get back to those things. So just suffice it would be to say that when a person is becoming ill, is subjectively witnessing the kind of things he is realizing, and when from this individual phenomenon this is getting converted into a social phenomenon, then this social condition or this social position is actually identified as sick roll. When a person is not feeling well, is becoming ill, and then he is actually declaring his condition as sick, and social approval is some sort of social approval is being witnessed, then this is identified as sick roll. And there are three specific things stated about sick roll. The sick roll is shared set of cultural norms. So when we say that the society recognizes or approves those conditions, so actually those approvals are based on certain cultural norms. So that is why the sick roll is shared set of cultural norms, because otherwise those approvals or recognitions are coming only on the basis of the cultural norms. So sickness is actually a cultural condition, a cultural conditioning, right? That is one point. Second point is that it legitimates deviant behavior caused by the illness. That when we consider a particular condition as as a condition of sickness, or we identify the role of the person as sick role, then it gives some kind of legitimacy to the deviance caused by the illness. That means the person is accepted to be or to remain in that particular role, right? That it is not to say that the moment you identify somebody as ill, or the moment you identify somebody in the status of, in the role of being sick role, then you are going to reject that person. No, you are not going to reject. The person is remaining important from the society, but what to do here? The third condition needs to be applied here. What is this third condition? It channels the individual into the healthcare system. So the moment somebody is identified to be in a sick role, then the society is expecting to make that person to move to the healthcare system, so that so that that deviance should get corrected, that abnormality should get corrected, so that the person should become healthy, so that the person should join his normal role, so that the person should start making proper contribution for the maintenance of the society, for the functioning of the society. So this is how the functional perspective is looking at the conditions related to illness and sickness. Now, person's contribution in the domain of illness, sickness, medical profession and health is considered the first contribution by a major sociologist in the domain of medical sociology, oblique sociology of health. With this, discussions started on contribution made by Marxist, symbolic interactionist, and other structural functionalist perspective. Other structural functional, post-structural, and postmodernist contributors. Now, 1950s is considered most important decade in the growth of medical sociology, and in our previous lecture, we have stated that actually medical sociology developed in America in the post-Second World War era, that means in the 1950s, right? So this is how basically functional perspective is looking at the issues related to health and illness. Now we'll move to further details. Now this section is basically talking about an important issue. What is that? Who are the main contributors in the domain of functional perspective on sociology of health, and what are their main arguments? So when we talk about who are the main contributors, yes, as we stated earlier, Talcott Parsons, then Malinowski and Durkheim. They are the three main contributors. There are people who talked about these things at a later stage, but basically we identify these three important contributions. And if we understand these things, then we understand several other things also. So according to Cookham, a crucial event occurred in 1951 that oriented medical sociology towards theoretical concerns, and it was the publication of Talcott Parsons' book, Social System. So the contribution, basically the most important contribution of Parsons is this, that Parsons actually helped in examining the issues related to health, illness, sickness theoretically. Theoretically, you know, what is the advantage that the theoretical sciences are having? The theoretical sciences are in a position to develop abstract knowledge. So when they are observing the empirical reality, they don't need to go for observing each set of realities as such. Rather, they are basically making some kind of abstract generalizations, the theorizations, and those theories actually help us in understanding, developing some kind of insight. And so if we are observing certain things at one point of time, then we can understand those things at a different point of time also, or maybe in a different context also. So that theoretical sciences are having that kind of advantages. And sociology is one such theoretical science. So basically, before that, the issues related to health and illness were primarily examined by biomedical sciences. And as we know, biomedical science is very individualist in its orientation. So the major basically intervention which came from Parsons is should be remembered in this particular context, that Parsons' contribution helped us to examine the issues related to illness and disease from the perspective of the society. Something that within the medical science is also talked about. So epidemiology is something that is talking about the spread of particular disease at a larger level, or they're talking about social epidemiology kind of thing. But those are not those are not examining the things at that level, or the theories are not not having the kind of embeddedness that we have in social sciences, sort of thing, right? So this is the advantage. Although I moved a little away from the prepared thing, but please excuse me. I'm suffering from this problem. This virus is very much here. Then we come to the next point. According to the functionalist approach, if society has to function as a stable system, it is necessary for its members to be healthy. Now, this is very important. Health is a sought after condition. For the survival of the society, health is a very desirable condition. Now you see this in 1950s, the post-Second World War. Actually, we witnessed the growth of several institutions which are related to health. For example, we talk about WHO, World Health Organization, or we talk about United Nations, or we talk about the declarations related to human rights. Now, these things are actually the events which took place in 1950s. So the presence of functionalist perspective in America or US has created a meaningful platform and supported this understanding that it is the responsibility of the society, or you can say the state, to take care of the health and well-being of people. This sense of entitlement and social normality is very meaningfully related, and this is the biggest contribution of this functionalist perspective, as we'll talk about this at a later stage also. Now we'll try to move quickly. Sickness is viewed as a form of deviant behavior. We talked about this earlier also. Now, Tischler has mentioned the following four components of Parsons' notion of sick role. Parsons talked about sick role and talked about four conditions. Now, what are those four conditions? The first, sick person is excused from normal social role responsibility, except to the extent that he or she is supposed to do whatever is necessary to get well. So he or she, whosoever is becoming sick, is excused from performing the normal duty. Relaxation is there, relaxation from society. Then sick person is not held responsible for his or her condition. So this is very important. Again, some kind of relaxation from society, is not basically held responsible for his condition. The third point is this: the sick person must recognize that being ill is undesirable and must want to recover. Now, this is a kind of responsibility. First two relaxations and next two responsibilities. Now, this is a responsibility of the person, that he should consider that being ill is undesirable and this is not good for the society as such, right? And so the sick person is obligated to seek medical care and cooperate with the advice of the designated expert. Now these two things are there: should seek medical care, right? Make efforts, conscious efforts. And then the second part, that uh, cooperate with the advice of the designated experts. Now this part is very important: cooperate with the advice of the designated expert, because Parsons is seeing that within the society there are specific institutions responsible for healthcare. He is seeing the professionals, the medical care provider, as that network, or see, you can as an institution, the healthcare institution, and a person who is in the role of sick role is supposed to cooperate. Now this cooperation is again considered as a precondition, as a necessary condition, right? And this is very important. We'll see that there are several conditions involved, some of which have been criticized a lot, right? Now Parsons believed that illness is dysfunctional for both individual and the larger society. But this point is very important, that the illness is dysfunctional for the individual as well as for the society. And so Parsons further says that it is important for the society to maintain social control over the people who enter into sick role. Now, because this is dysfunctional, it needs to be discouraged. And because it needs to be discouraged, it needs to be controlled. And so it is important for the society to maintain social control over the people who enter into this sick role. Now, how to maintain a control? Although the society is accepting, is legitimizing that condition, but it is also playing some kind of controlling mechanism. And how does that operate? It operates through the physicians, that we say the doctors, right? The medical professionals. And that is why Parsons is considering them as the gatekeepers, right? So the medical professionals or the physicians are considered the gatekeepers of the sick role. You can say the gatekeepers of the state of health. And then if we go further, we find that when a person who is not well, or you can say when a person who is in the role of a sick role, or you can say the person who is a patient, when this patient is interacting with a physician, then this interaction is having some kind of power equation, and this power equation is not equal. That means the physician is in a more dominating position, and the patient is not in that dominating position, or not in that equality of a status kind of thing. And so the patient is expected to follow the doctor's advices as well as the orders. Now this is important, that the patient is expected to follow the orders of the doctor, the suggestions of the doctor. And when a patient is meeting with a doctor, there's some kind of encounter is taking place, and this is a medical encounter. Now in a condition of medical encounter, the patient is expected to surrender their medical knowledge. That means the patient, whatever little layman understanding they are having, they need to surrender, because the doctors are supposed to be well informed, and there should not be some kind of contradictory role. So here Parsons think that the physicians or the doctors are enjoying very powerful position, and somehow when Parsons recognized this, talked about these things, then it was criticized vehemently, because somehow it was considered that it's not necessary that the power or the dominance that the physicians or the doctors are enjoying will be used in the larger interest of the patients only, right? Thus, according to functionalist perspective, the sick role exempts the patient from routine activities for a period of time, and assumes that the individuals will seek appropriate medical attention and get well as soon as possible. And for that, the society is giving a specific responsibility to the physicians and the doctors. So this was the some sort of, this is some sort of understanding related to Parsons' contribution. But as we stated that there are other people also who have made some kind of contribution. We talk about Emile Durkheim and Malinowski in this context. Although Emile Durkheim has not talked about health and illness in a straightforward way, or we can say that we don't find references related to health and illness as such uh, in the domains related to illness and health, but still there are some specific uh, um, thing that we can point out which play very important role, very crucial role in developing our understanding related to sociology of health. And as it was pointed out by Cookerham, Durkheim has played a very important role in understanding kind of social determinants of health. Because when Durkheim is talking about suicide, then he is actually talking about the social conditions which are influencing the causation of death of an individual. Because suicide is again end of life or causation of death. And for Durkheim, the social conditions are basically responsible for the kind of engagement that the individual is having with the social conditions of the society. So Durkheim is a collectivist and core functionalist thinker. So this collectivist perspective, or this functional contribution, is somehow emanating even from the works of Emile Durkheim. Then second important thing that we can talk about here is this, that Durkheim talked about a division of labor. He talked about a specialization, and basically if we study the medical profession, then we can see that how the expertise and specialization is growing. So so Durkheim's work is helping us in understanding the medical profession. But more than that, what is important here is this, that Durkheim is also talking about social causation of death. So the point that I'm making here is a very nuanced thing. Basically, death is generally getting associated with biological causation, right? I mean, people also talk about the theological things, or religion and all those things. So keeping aside the belief related things, we're talking about the scientific arguments. And for that, death is getting associated with the biological causation, but Durkheim in his masterpiece Suicide talked about the social causation. So that way we get an important interpretation from Durkheim that yes, the death, or for that matter, life, the biological conditionings of the life are also related with the social determinants kind of thing. So now we move to another important contributor, Malinowski. Now Malinowski has talked about some of the specific health related conditions. Very specifically, a direct connection between culture and health was articulated by Malinowski, who considered culture as a functional response to satisfy the organic and basic needs of man and of the race. So Malinowski talked about some of the basic needs, and he identified several basic needs, and he said that the culture is actually coming into existence in response to those basic needs. And when talking about those human or basic needs, he identified some of those issues which are out and out related to health and illness related conditions, right? Let me read out the statement for you. Malinowski defined culture as the integral whole encompassing human ideas and crafts, beliefs, and customs, a vast apparatus partly material, partly human, and partly spiritual, by which man is able to cope with the concrete specific problems that face him. So this is how he defined culture. And then Malinowski saw those problems as human needs that promoted cultural response. These needs were metabolism, reproduction, bodily comfort, safety, movement, growth, and health. So these are metabolism, reproduction, bodily comfort sort of things. These are the biological conditions, but these are the basic human needs. And he's talking about their connection with the culture. So Malinowski is also talking about hygiene as a cultural response to health. Hygiene involves all sanitary arrangement in a community, native beliefs as to health and magical dangers, rules about exposure, extreme fatigue, the avoidance of danger or accidents, and the never absent range of household remedies. So Malinowski has made contribution in this specific context, that how our biological needs, how our basic needs are actually connected with the cultural thing. And when we talk about the basic needs, then there are several needs which are related to our health conditions. So that way health and illness conditions are related to the cultural and the social determinants of life. So this is a very important contribution, because when we will examine the social determinants of health, then we will see that there is a huge departure from the biomedical perspective, and the social determinants of health and illness and disease actually talk about some kind of the embeddedness of the social and the cultural life with the biological life kind of thing. So when we see these contributions from those perspective, we realize the importance of. So at this level, we talk about the contribution made by these three important thinkers. Now, what are the criticism? There are so many criticism. Some of the criticisms are specifically related to the contribution made by Parsons. Many analysts believe that the Sikh role model does not take into account racial, ethnic, class, and gender variation. Yes, basically, if we can try to universalize the concept of Sikh role, then we find that in several contexts, this concept is not applicable. Some people have also pointed out that when we look at it from the perspective of disease, then we see that there are acute and chronic disease. So although the concept of sick role is applicable in the context of acute disease, but it cannot be applied in the context of what do we say, chronic disease, right? Chronic disease. You may remember we talked about the types of disease and the classification of disease in one separate lecture. If you have not seen that, then please go and see that at length, because we need to have a fair understanding of these things also. So these are some of the critiques. And then Parsons was more theoretical than empirical. Now, this is very important. We stated that Parsons tried to understand the things at a theoretical level, so the empirical observations are missing, and this is one of the critique of the functional perspective as such, because the functional perspective is often considered as an armchair perspective also. According to the critics, Parsons' conceptualization came under significant criticism for how it masks the variability in the contemporary or legitimate nature of a different illness and the diversity in the actual behavior of sick individual. And even the people who we have, people who are in the state of sickness, there is a huge diversity, so it is not possible to develop some kind of a universal postulates kind of thing. Yes, these are the criticism. And then if you see the contribution made by functionalist school from the perspective of the Marxist or the conflict perspective, then we find that there are so many criticisms. There's a huge list of, basically the Marxists have rejected most of the postulates. The consensual approach is rejected. They consider that the society is full of conflicts and they are unable to see the changes and all those things. So basically, as a student of sociology, you are aware of some of those criticisms. We won't talk about those things at this stage. Now we come to the last part of this lecture. Now, what are the specific contributions made by this functional perspective? We have been talking about those things, so just we are going to summarize. The main contribution can be summarized in the form of 4 or 5 statements. First is this, that positive functions of different systems of medicine and healthcare professionals and experts have been highlighted. So contribution made by, there are different systems of medicine, and each and every system of medicine is making some kind of contribution in some or the other context. So this functionalist perspective, which talks about, which is also considered as a pluralist perspective, is talking about the contribution made by each and every system of medicine. So different, the contribution of the various systems of medicine is recognized and appreciated. Then it talks about the kind of hierarchy which is prevailing among the different systems, and somehow it is talking about some kind of popular benefits, right? Benefits of having this kind of hierarchy sort of thing, because the society is otherwise also having differentiated structures. So this differentiation existing within the systems of medicine is somehow helpful in addressing to the needs of different categories of people, right? So this is again an important contribution if we see it from this perspectives, in the viewpoint of this, if we see it from their perspective. And then most important contribution is this, that disease is a social rather than a physical abnormality. So even if disease is prevailing at the level of the individuals, but if you see it at a larger level, then it's not a physical abnormality, it's a social abnormality. That means if many persons are suffering from some kind of illness, then we should not consider those individuals responsible for that. Rather, we consider the society responsible for that, and because it is going to disturb the normality of the society. So it is a social abnormality. And then it makes healthcare as a desirable condition, because it considers health as a desirable condition and not illness or disease or sickness kind of thing. And then it talks about hospitals as a system and application of system approach. So basically the healthcare institutions keep on growing. As of today, the hospitals have developed in different forms. So this functional perspective is helping us to develop, to understand these things as systems. And basically when we apply the system approach, then we agree to certain points. We agree to certain institutional format. We agree to certain rules and regulations kind of thing. We agree to certain minimum roles, right? So this is very helpful in understanding the different forms or the multiple forms of the healthcare providing institutions. And we can summarize the whole thing by stating that main contribution lies in the fact that health and healthcare is the responsibility of the society, and rejection of blaming the individual kind of mindset. So yes, functionalist theoreticians helped us in making disease and illness and sickness as a social phenomenon, and basically talking about healthcare as a desirable condition, and so helping in realizing the goal of health for all. So this is this is my presentation or lecture on understanding the contribution of the functionalist perspective in understanding issues related to health, illness, disease, and medicine. I'm sure that some of the points raised in this lecture would be appreciated by you. And yes, you may find some kind of limitations also in this lecture. So if you are having some question, please ask your questions in the comment box so that I can take up those questions and try to answer them at the right mm, in the context we're relating with the this right kind of topics, right? And if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe and then like and share so that it can reach to the deserving people and needful people, all right? And if you happen to find something which you think that I should have avoided, then you do suggest to me, do give me your comments. My email is given in the channel. So in the description box, you can find my email also. So please help me to move to more and more uh, mm, student, scholars, colleagues. And one last thing I would like to share with you, that actually because of my close association with this sub-discipline of sociology, sociology of health, I'm thinking of making these video lectures. And as I have to prepare these lectures for my own students at the department level, I'm putting extra efforts so that this should reach to all other students who are spread all over the country. And yes, I have talked about some of the references, and yes, the suggested reading. So my own book is there, Sociology of Health, that most of you are aware of. So you can find these references and related study material there. And those actually some of the colleagues were asking me about this book. So yes, here is the book. You might have seen this book is available at different online platforms also. So yes, if you are in, I'm not promoting my book, but some of you asked about this things. So yes, if I'm unable to explain a point here because of shortage of time, then you can go through this book or maybe any of those books which are already mentioned here, so that you can appreciate those points, right? So thank you very much for being there. Take care. Thank you. I'm going to first stop sharing, and then I'm going to close or stop this recording. So thank you. Have a great day.